Welcome back to the hybrid drawing workshop. Now, in the previous video we set up the scale of the background image and did a printout of it so that we could then add some more lines to our orthographic section of the cloister by adding in some perspective lines, so that we could then have a little bit more to work with to blend the two drawings together. Now, here's our scaling drawing that we started with. Now, I'm going to open up the final drawing. Now, the drawing, if you scan it at full scale as a hand draw, or in this case I've printed it as a PDF from MicroStation, you can open a PDF in Photoshop. So double click on that. Now I'm going to make sure that you can either go bounding box or media box. If you do media box, then it will bring it through on the size of the media or the scale of the media that you printed it at. So because we printed it at A3, I'd like it to come through at A3. That way we know for sure that it's all going to be to scale. Now the resolution is at 300 dpi. So we just go OK. Now there's our PDF file that's come through. It's come through as a transparency. There is no background onto that. Now we can flatten this out so that we can see it more as a normal drawing by just right clicking on layer 1 and go flatten image, and that flattens it out. So now that it's merged with a white background. Now I am going to just crop this image. Now this is not rescaling it because I'm not changing the physical size of the overall drawing. I'm just going to crop a little bit of the white space off the side, because what I want to do is just crop it to that line there, and I'm going to crop it to the other outline there, so that the outlines all through here are bound so that I can do a fill. So I've cropped that. Now I'm going to select a color. I'll just dial up a light grey through here. Okay, and I'll just dump a fill into that posh section through there, and I'll just zoom in a little bit here so I can pick up those little bits. Control 0 to zoom to extents. So here's our drawing, our raw drawing, I guess, that will then end up going into our background through here. So it's a little bit in reverse of what we've done previous. So I'm going to Control A, select all, Control C, copy, and then flick over to my cross section, first scaling, Control V, paste. Now you notice that it's completely obliterated the image underneath, but again, as we know, if we just hit multiply, then we turn that into a transparency. Now I've got the layer 1 called up here. I'm going to just move the drawing so it sits kind of on top of our original like we had it set up. Now that is a reasonably good match between the two. Now it's never going to be perfect, and part of the thing is that when we start to blend the two together, it doesn't really matter because we're going to fade one out into the other. So the way that the two match, I guess, is not 100% critical. Now while I've still got layer 1 dialed up, and just to make sure that we're not confused, I'm going to call this the drawing, and I'm going to call this the background photo. Now I'm going to activate the drawing layer because I'm just going to get rid of some of these lines through there. Now in principle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the lines until they hit sort of a natural barrier. So these ones are hitting the wall that's going through there, and then this vanishing line, I'm going to stop it earlier because it's going to hit the window. That one's hitting the window, that one's hitting the window, that one's hitting the window. These are okay. I'm going to trim these ones off because they're hitting that end wall. I'm going to trim this one off because it's hitting the window through here. I'm going to trim this one off. So all I'm doing is I'm using my eraser tool to just erase a little bit of that line, and I'm going to nip those ones off through there. Now I'm going to select my background photo layer, and I'm going to zoom in to this bit through here. Now I'm going to pull a marquee over that part of the background image, and I'm going to erase that. I'm just going to zoom out to make this a little bit quicker. Erase that part of the image. I'm going to zoom in to the other side through here. Control D to get rid of that marquee. I'm going to pull a marquee across through here and then erase that. The reason why I'm using a marquee, you could probably do this just using the eraser tool, but the marquee gives it a solid line to actually erase up to, so it makes it a little bit neater. Okay, I'm going to just nip this little bit off here. I've gone too far, so I'll just zoom in. I can't quite see what I'm doing there. So I'm going to find that line just there, so I'm going to erase that. Now I'm going to pull down, I've got my shift key down to constrain my eraser so it just goes down straight the whole way. And just to see, make sure that that's going all the way through. Just checking as I go through that everything's kind of looking more or less okay. I'm going to zoom out. To zoom in and out quickly, you can go Control plus or minus. And I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to trim off that little bit there. So using my block eraser, I can hold it there, hold my shift key down, and that constrains it to a straight line. Just going to make sure that there's nothing in there. Now I'm going to use my polygon marquee tool here to just get a little bit of this background out through there. Double click to close it off. Haven't done a brilliant job there, so I'm going to hit my shift key, just add a little bit more to that marquee there. Double click. Okay, and so I'll then erase that little bit through there. Control D, Control 0 to then bring it to the full extent. So we've done, I guess, part of the cutting out, and already you can see that the two are starting to blend reasonably well together. Now there's probably many ways in which you can sort of fade one image out into the other, and working in Photoshop there's always many options, but I'm going to use a fairly simple one. It's need to have a little bit of an artistic eye. I'm going to use the brush tool. So I'm going to change the eraser from not a block but to a brush. I'm going to give it a reasonably large, let's say a 200 pixel diameter brush, and something with something that fades out around the edges of it. And I'm going to just dial up a very light opacity, around 15%. Now make sure I'm in my background layer. Now when I start to use this eraser, you can see that it's just gently erasing things off. It's sort of lightening it up. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just going to work my way around through here, through there, and lighten up just the edges so that the line work and the drawing begin to merge. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more, because what I want to do is I'm going to give it a little bit more erasing on the top through here, just to get rid of, I guess, that obvious line through there. So we can always come back and fade out a little bit more, so the line through here is kind of blended out a little bit through there, particularly that bit there, which is annoying me here. So I'll give myself a little bit more and a smaller brush. I'm just going to nip that little bit in through there. Okay, now I'm going to dial up a much bigger brush now, much lower opacity, and then start to fade the two out. Now don't be too concerned, because when we start to see these things come on board, you can start to see it's the background drawing where we've edited things out, but that's going to go away. We can actually just pop in a new layer, put that down below, and we can even just dump in a white into that, so you can we got something so that background doesn't bother us anymore. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the drawing, turn it into a block, and I'm just going to clean some of these up here again. Now what I can do is turn this into I'm going to give it a little bit more oomph and a slightly smaller, and then fade those out through there in the drawing. So you can see through by just blending the one to the other, you can get quite a good blend between the two. All that's really left to do now is to add a scale bar. So I'm just going to do a tricky thing through here. I'm going to make it unconstrained for a start. I'll just bring this up through there, bring that down up through there. I'll crop that, and then I'll just make the canvas size a little bit bigger again. I'll make the canvas size 42. Okay, and now turn those off. Okay, Control 0, that's everything there. I'm just going to open up, where is my scale bar, copy, final draw, cross section, Control V, and I can pop a scale bar into there. Now I can put some numbers on through there, and then also put titles, and then add some entourage, and that's it, pretty much job done. So thanks for listening, and look forward to your results.